American dystopia.
And we see through this crisis that we're going through right now how inept the government actually is at helping its citizens out. You know, it's so ridiculous to see the disparity of what the American people have gotten through all of this and what companies have gotten through all of this. I mean, it's absolutely sickening. It makes something like at least a temporary universal basic income seem almost necessary just to help the people get through this crisis. Where do you fall on that?
Well, I think it is totally ironic that Mr. Yang was so ridiculed for the UBI and how it was not taken seriously, and all of a sudden here we are, where the government's printing out the money and seriously considering giving it out to the people. And of course, Canada, I think, is giving out $2,000 a month for a while. And I suppose in an emergency situation, whatever needs to happen, of course. Ultimately, money is an imaginary construct, and they're just printing it out of thin air, essentially. And of course, the nation's already $25 trillion in debt. So what's a few more trillion, I suppose? But I think there might be other ways. I think perhaps it. The rent moratorium or that would not, if the government's is your renter for public housing and stuff, they could certainly be in a position to start giving people some slack on their rent. Government issued debt, say like all the student loans, they could very easily vanquish that debt and create a huge economic stimulus. The government could, start doing like it's doing, which is start giving you some of your tax money back, or start waiving taxes, or start waiving property taxes, or there might be other ways to, because we're in a pause situation where the economy seems to be at a big pause. So it would be doable, or a little more doable, if the pause was across the board, if you see what I'm saying. I saw on the internet, which is where I get a lot of my information, of course, a proposal that, well, why not just take that especially for homeowners who are paying mortgages and stuff, why not just, move that, put those 3 months towards the end of the mortgage. Boom. I mean, they'll still get paid. It's just like, so I think there's definitely a lot of ways that it could be handled, because although I'm a firm believer,
you're saying there's a lot of ways, and every one of those ways, it seems like those ways are just ways that help certain people at certain times, where it seems to me like the best solution that there possibly could be would be to put money directly into everybody's hands. Let them spend it on rent. Let them spend it on food. Let them spend it on the things that they need at the moment. Because it seems to me like the broke folk are getting screwed royally in this whole thing. And the easiest way to help poor people is to put money directly into their hands.
It sounds like a good idea, but is it really a good idea?
I mean, where's the drawback? If I'm going to the store, I can't use a rent credit to get a gallon of milk. Or if I'm going to the store, I can't use a negative income tax to buy a loaf of bread. I mean, a person's got to eat. A person's got to buy diapers. A person's got, baby formula. With all these things, we could do away with all of that by putting money directly into people's hands to get through this crisis.
Well, once again, that is an idea. I just don't really see how it would work, how it could work, and how we can afford to do that.
You say, how can we afford to do that? That's the question that is on everybody's mind. How are we going to pay for that? But nobody's asking how we're going to pay for that when we're printing trillions of dollars to bail out the banks. No one's asking how we're going to pay for that when we're printing trillions of dollars.
I mean, let's give the money to the people instead of the bank. sure, give the money to the people instead of the military. In terms of priority, there is a certain niceness to that. And sure, I mean, in terms of priorities, I think people eating and living is considerably more important than exercising foreign wars. I know a big part of the Libertarian Party platform is ending the overseas wars. And goodness, that would that would free up a shit ton of money, let's say. I'm personally, because I personally come from this sort of anarchist perspective. I mean, ultimately, I've been an anarchist my entire life, and so therefore, I've always believed that the state, the government, is the enemy, or unnecessary, or superfluous, or shouldn't even exist. I believe that it's illegitimate as a entity. However, of course, now that I'm sort of thrown into this real world situation where I'm trying to present potentially real world solutions, and running as a real candidate for a real political party, I have certainly found myself, I've had to reassess and readjust a lot of my thinking, I think. And part of that comes along these lines when, my human place really feels for these people and want to help them.